G'day everyone. So I actually did have another video uploaded, but currently running some issues with monetization with YouTube, so just waiting on that to be resolved, hopefully, otherwise I'll be re-uploading. And it's a review on the Nightforce NX8. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that, I thought I'd try and get another video out, try and stick with this video a week. We'll see how long that lasts. But anyway, got some bipods here that I'm just going to have a quick chat about. I'll try and get through it reasonably quickly so I'm not boring anyone. Someone might find it helpful, others probably won't need to watch it. It's one of those boring sort of topics about bipods. But there might be something here that no one's tried, so I'll just run through. So to start off, we've got a zero cant 9 to 13 Harris style bipod with the little locking leg screws here. Don't know the technical term for that. It's attached via swivel stud. We've got the Atlas 5H, which is attached by a pick rail. This is my brother's off his Ruger Precision 338 lap. We've got the Magpul 1075. Not 100% sure on the height, but it's around that 9 to 13 mark. All these are very similar heights. And this is also my brother's, and he's running it on his Howard Bravo 308. And probably also alternating it a bit on the 223s as well. And then we've got my old faithful Harris Ultralight 9 to 13 notched. It's got cant as well, as do these two. The only one that doesn't have cant is the cheaper 9 to 13, which may be a Harris copy, may be an original Harris, I'm not 100% sure. So basically, I'm just going to go through do a quick pros and cons, run through, and if you guys have any questions, just chuck them below. So first up, we'll run through the cheapie, and that's the first pro, is cost. You can pick these up for like 30 to 50 bucks. If they're a copy for a genuine Harris in this style, you might be looking at around 100, might be a little bit more, but it's sort of thereabouts. Another pro, it's quick and easy to use. You do have leg adjustability, so you can get a good level, and you've just got to tighten this up. And the other pro is the weight. So the weight on this is 324 grams. The cons, that's about it for the pros, I think. The cons are these leg lockers here. So you push this in, leg comes up, don't know if you can really see it, and you tighten this. But what I've found over the years, and nearly most people have seen this style of bipod, what happens if you're going to take your shot, sometimes the weight of the rifle and whatever angle you're on can put pressure on this, and your leg will start to slide back up into the bipod. So you can lose sight picture, you can lose your level, and it's just all in all not a good time. So you pretty much need to either run it at its shortest or at its max. But the problem is, without having inbuilt cant, there's not a whole lot you can do if you're on an unstable surface. So this bipod here, I would pretty much just put in the rimfire only sort of box, very cheap bipod that will suffice for shooting at rabbits or whatever. But I personally, since using notched bipods, personally would never get another one of them. Next up, the big dog. This is the Atlas 5H. You've got cant, so you can go side to side. You've got swivel, which is the only one out of here that will swivel like this. So your entire rifle can move without losing your bipod position. Very good load, so when you're pressing forward with your rifle, you get a very good load for that straight back recoil, which in turn does help accuracy over long distances. Very well machined. This thing feels like quality. The weight on it is 777 grams, so it's not light, but it is an absolute tank of a bipod. Like, even just the stance, you've got such a stable platform. So I'd say the pros are obviously your loading ability, your cant, your swivel. All this is adjustable. Like, you can tighten it up, lock it, whatever you want. What's another pro? Build quality. It's quite easy to adjust. You've just got these little things here. It's very similar to most Atlases. The only difference is most Atlases don't have the swivel feature and they don't have this cant feature. The cons, I would say, are the weight, the size. It's bulky, even in its shortest position with the legs up. I mean, it's still a big chunk of a bipod, and that weight, 777 grams, you know, that's bordering on the weight of some sort of high-end long-range scopes. There obviously are scopes lighter than that, but this sort of bipod's really designed and built for a heavy shooting platform where you need ultimate stability and reach way out yonder. Next up, we've got the Magpul 1075. Now, this bipod has caught my attention quite a lot. It's notch design, it's plastic, like this bottom part of the leg's plastic, the internal is steel. Basically the part that holds the swivel stud locker and the legs itself, also plastic, but it doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel, you know, there's a little bit of play and movement in it, but it's really not bad. It weighs in at 376 grams, so it's not the heaviest bipod in the world, but it's not the lightest. Got basically similar to the others, you've got this button here, which you press in to have your bipod as you would on your rifle. The great thing about this though is you can just flip it down. There's no switch or any button to deploy it. Another great thing about this bipod is the loading. So I haven't done a stack of shooting on it yet. I've done a little bit with my brother's 308, but the load we could get on this bipod was very similar to the Atlas, and it beat the Harris and the Harris copy by a long shot. So this bipod here is actually one I'll be considering for my next rifle once it arrives, because not only is it quite light, it has cant, it has good loading, but it's just versatile, quick to use. Probably one of the main cons I can see with this bipod are the volume. It's a little bit hard to run it quietly. You've got to really get it lined up in that notch to be quiet. If you don't, if you're not careful with it, it can be quite noisy. So depending on your application, hunting, it might not be the best option if you're doing sort of close range stalking that. But for the most part, if I'm running a bipod out, you can see I'm doing it quite quietly, but there is room for it to be noisy. So, pros, obviously the weight. It's the second lightest bipod here, bar the cheaper Harris copy, but it has cant inbuilt. It's far better designed in terms of having that loading ability. You've also got your cant, like I said, you've got notches, and it feels quite rugged. I don't think there's going to be any issues with this, falling apart or breaking just because it's plastic. The cons, maybe the volume, like it might be a little bit noisy. If you can do things like that, it might make a bit of noise, but overall I think it's a pretty good bipod. Then last up, we've got my Harris here. The weight on this is 402 grams. I weighed all these before this video too, so that's what my scales have measured these at. So 402 grams. So it's not super light, but the fact it has cant versus this with no cant and it's got notches, I mean 400 grams is pretty decent. So the pros of this are got that Harris reliability. I've never had an issue with this. It's quite quiet, quick and easy to adjust. You've got the cant function, which is adjusted via this knurled screw at the back here. That's potentially a con as well because you really need a set of pliers or something to tighten that up. But having said that, I've never readjusted this. So since I bought this a couple of years ago, I basically cranked it and I've not touched it since. I try to do very little cant within the bipod head. I rather do it with the notches, but if I have to do a bit of cant, I've got that very firm, so I can cant and it shouldn't affect accuracy. It shouldn't be flopping around all over the place when I take that shot, because if you have any movement in your bipod as you shoot, obviously small changes at the shooter cause big changes downrange, so that's not what you want. So this bipod's been very good. I've always had a lot of accuracy with this bipod and it's never let me down in that regard. Some of the cons are probably that factor that, you know, something like a wing nut or something on the back there would probably be better. You do have these big exposed springs, whether they wear out over time, it's a little bit, you know, it feels a little bit flimsy. You don't get the best load on it versus something like the Magpul or the Atlas. But overall, I've been really happy with this bipod, and it'll be a tough decision on my next build, like the 300 PRC that I'm getting, whether I do run it or whether I run the Magpul. I'd pretty much say the Magpul's basically a complete cross between the Harris Ultralight and one of your standard Atlases. I don't know the models off the top of my head. I've shot them quite a bit and they're very nice bipods, but the Magpul falls right in the middle. It's basically about the same, well, it's less money than the Atlas, but it's more than the Harris. I think the Harris is around 200 bucks. Most Atlases are around 500. So the Magpul, I think, from memory, is around 350 bucks. So it sort of falls right in the middle there, and you sort of get the best of both worlds. So it's probably a very strong contender to the next build. But there's probably more informative videos out there. I just thought I'd share with you guys some of my thoughts on these bipods. And in the meantime, hopefully while this video's out, the next video will be in progress and monetized, and hopefully it'll be all good to go very soon. So stay tuned. Cheers.